from a Montreat student. I was a student at Montreat Anderson College in the early 1980s. I have such fond memories of Billy Graham showing up at Montreat Church every now and then and leading a prayer or just being a part of the congregation. One time, my friend's parents had driven over from Arden to go to church with her at Montreat, and Billy Graham happened to be sitting near them in the congregation. They were amazed that Dr. Graham greeted them like he was any other worshiper. His humility is a credit to our Savior's name. I also remember Ruth Graham coming over to do a Bible study with us in the lobby of the girls' dormitory. I remember going to the Billy Graham Association for a movie occasionally, too. The Grahams were hospitable to us students. Thanks for being authentic in your faith.
The Day I Met Billy Graham. In 1987, I was in my first year serving as a youth pastor at Calvary Baptist Church in Burbank, California. This was an interesting position because at the time, Calvary Baptist was a church without any youth, so our youth group was made up of non-church teens from the neighborhoods, none of whom had yet professed Christ. I received a call from a woman at Billy Graham's Worldwide Pictures telling me about an advance screening for their new movie, Caught. They were holding the screening at Universal Studios, and she wanted to know if I would bring my youth group to the screening. She told me they especially wanted the reactions of non-Christians to the movie, and she asked me to encourage my Christian youth to invite their non-Christian friends. I told her I didn't actually have any Christians in my youth group, but I would ask them to invite their friends anyway. The night of the screening was a hoot. My friend Martin and I brought 8 teen boys from the neighborhood to the screening. Other church youth groups were arriving by bus, dressed nicely for the occasion, walking quietly and politely in groups to the theater. Our guys were all over the place. They were loud and obnoxious, dressed for the street, running pell-mell here and there, excitedly checking out the grounds of Universal Studios after hours. We stuck out like sore thumbs in an elegant hand gallery. After we finally gathered them all and got them to put out their cigarettes, we made our way into the screening theater. It was a first-class theater with high-backed chairs that reclined all the way back. Our guys naturally pushed their way to the front of the theater where they proudly sat front and center in full view of everybody. One of them asked me where there was a water fountain. Instead of releasing him now that we finally had them all together and sitting, I told him I would check. I walked up to a man in the back of the theater who looked official to ask him about the water fountain. He turned out to be Bill Brown, the president of Worldwide Pictures at the time. He asked me my name and said, "I have someone I would like you to meet." Then he tapped the shoulder of a man who was standing with his back toward us and said, "Billy, I would like you to meet Ray." Billy turned around, and sure enough, it was Billy Graham. I had no idea he was even going to be there that night and was caught totally off guard. I think I managed to squeak out something brilliant like, "Hello, nice to meet you. I've heard you speak." Billy shook my hand, smiled at me, and with a twinkle in his eye nodded toward the front of the theater. "Are those your boys?" I looked to the front of the theater where Martin was doing his best to contain 8 overly exuberant boys who were rocking all the way back and up again in their high-backed reclining chairs as fast as they could go. They looked like 8 alternating levers in some wildly gyrating machine. I said, "Excuse me," and raced back to the front of the theater where we finally got the boys calmed down in time for the movie. So that was the one and only time I got to meet Billy Graham in person. I got the impression he was glad that I had brought my wild youth group to the screening, and when he came up front after the movie to talk, he smiled at the whole lot of them. Of course, they were completely freaked out to see this man they'd only seen on TV suddenly standing in front of them talking about Christ. All in all, it was a great night, and definitely one for the youth pastor books.